Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. So another huge week. We'll go through. We've got the Halloween movies, and of course, being that it's close to Halloween, this will be the last review. The next one will be after Halloween. So we had to put John Carpenter's Halloween, probably the greatest Halloween movie ever made. Then we have Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I know there's kind of mixed feelings about it. I'm actually a big fan of it. It's flawed, but I think the concept was really good. The plan was instead of having Michael Myers movies, they were going to do Halloween movies each year, but with a different story. And since the third one tanked, they started making more Michael Myers movies, which I've never been a big fan of, like the later ones. As far as I'm concerned, the first one's the best and only Halloween movie beyond Season of the Witch. Then we have Addams Family, which is, I wouldn't say it's scary, but it's a good family film. Then we have Gremlins, which is, seminal work. Then we have absolutely one of my favorite Leica films, Paranorman. Then we have Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. You can't go wrong with that. And let me scoot over. We have Little Shop of Horrors. Great film. Mad Monster Party. The stop motion Rankin Bass movie. And then finally we have Coraline, the first Leica feature, stop motion features, and both those have been recently released in 4K from Shout Factory. So definitely check those out. I still have a little bit of cold, but I'm mostly over it. As you can tell, my voice is still a little froggy, but otherwise okay. I have water on standby just in case. Let me get it. Let me take a real sip. So let's get going with the books. First up, we have Gone Number One by Jock, written and drawn by Jock. Now, this is Distillery's first regular title. There was Devil's Due, which was kind of it was a one shot, but it was a sampler, and there is a it's sort of a short story from this storyline in there. So if you, I don't think you have to read it to understand this. This first issue stands on its own, but I think it's a nice little side story that kind of got you in the mood for this first issue. Basically, it's a story of Abby, and so what you have is kind of the rich living the life on starships and everything. They have all the food, and then there's the people who are not rich. Basically, everybody else who's they don't have enough food. They live in shacks, and so what it is they live near this starship station, and they go and they raid starships for food and stuff. And so Abby's mom is pregnant, so Abby's gets involved with this gang to go on to this new big starship to steal food. And unfortunately, when she gets on, she finds out that these guys are kind of rebels and they're going to destroy the starship. So she's she's now stuck on the starship. They're out. And then you have these rebels trying to destroy the ship. And then the ship, is like, we need to catch the rebels. So there's kind of a lot going on here. I mean, obviously, Jock's very well known as an artist. He recently did a Black Label Batman book, which I believe was his first writing and drawing, doing the entire thing. So this is his second project, and it really is off to a good start. I mean, obviously the art is really gorgeous, but I think he's got a really good story concept here. And the one thing I particularly liked is he does a really nice job of introducing you to Abby, and you get to know her, and she's just trying to help her mom and survive, basically. So it's an interesting story. I think it shows a lot of promise. We'll kind of see now. The Distillery books are bi-monthly, so the next issue is going to be out in December. So take your so don't worry that it's not coming out. It's just it's a bi-monthly book. So next up we have Alan Scott, The Green Lantern Number One, written by Tim Sheridan, with artwork by Kane Tormey. Now there was this year's DC's Pride, there was a kind of a prequel story. And I'm kind of, it would have been nice for DC to actually include that here. But you know how that goes. I don't think you necessarily need to read that. And the problem that I kind of had with that in there is it was like to be continued, and unfortunately, that was like months ago when that came out. So it wasn't like this was a whole like timed well or anything. But that being said, this issue is pretty good. So what it is Alan Scott is gay, and it's set in the like the 60s, like the war, maybe the 40s, no, the 40s, yes, because it's like during the World War, where the Justice Society. And so what it is the FBI has a file on him. They know that he's gay, and so they're willing to keep it quiet, but he hasn't worked with the JSA lately, and we don't quite know why, but there's something like going on with that. But it also has the story of him and Johnny, his boyfriend, and the story of them going out to sea, and the government's trying to find this crimson flame that's in the ocean. And so that kind of sets up the thing with his boyfriend Johnny, and then that's kind of all that stuff going on. I like this first issue. I wouldn't say that I loved it. I think Sheridan gets the story off. He puts all the pieces in place. There's a fair amount of exposition that he's got to get through here, but and then Tormey's artwork's nice. It gets a job done. Like I said, I wasn't overwhelmed with this first issue, but I think it's off to a decent start, and I do like Alan Scott Green Lantern, so I'm willing to give it at least another issue or two to kind of see where that Sheridan and Tormey are going to take it. But I think it's off to a decent start. Next up, we have Captain America number 2, written by J. Michael Straczynski, with artwork by Jesus Saez. So what, in the first issue, so we have kind of the present day Steve Rogers, and then the past Steve Rogers. So the present is he's bought, he has Tony Stark lend him money to buy the apartment building that he lived in with his mother, and now he's fixing it up. So there's that part of the story going on. And in the past, it's Steve is the skinny Steve before he becomes Captain America. And it's before World War II, where Nazis have come to the U.S. to try to, say how great, Nazism is and all that kind of stuff. And of course, Steve is not having any of that. So, there's kind of two things going on. I do like what Straczynski's doing here, how he's, kind of blending how the past is influencing the present, and how the present, is, the reason of the present is from the past. So it's how Steve kind of grew up, and how he really was Captain America before he became super soldier, kind of thing. And it's interesting. And Saez's art, the art's really nice in the book. I also like the slow kind of burn that Straczynski's taking with this. And also the fact that it's not just, another superhero Captain America book. I like the fact that he's getting in to the character of Steve Rogers, and I think that's what I'm really liking about it. So if you're looking for like kind of an action cap, definitely this is not it right now. But I think once again, it's about the character of Steve Rogers, and I like how Straczynski's building that up so far. So I still like this book. Next up, we have Dark Spaces Dungeons number 1, written by Scott Snyder, with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So what it is this guy Taylor, his family has moved to like this kind of small town out kind of somewhat in the middle of nowhere, and he's out, he's talking on the phone to somebody, and he's out walking, and he stumbles over this like kind of like a manhole cover, but like it's bolted on and everything. And so what it is that there's Agent MODOK. So he knows about so what it is, this serial killer has kidnapped people over the years, and instead of like just killing them, he actually tortures them. There's this chamber where these pillars, or metal things kind of push in and basically torture the person, where eventually, they don't die all of a sudden. It, breaks their bones and stuff like that. And what we find out is that Agent Modoc he was kidnapped as a kid by this guy. So his whole thing is he's been looking for this guy ever since. So now Taylor stumbled across it, and then the serial killer contacts Taylor and says, you are now in trouble because you told somebody about this. So it's really an interesting, really kind of intriguing story. It's kind of disturbing, but like in a good way. Sherman's artwork's really, really nice. Does a really nice job. He keeps it, he keeps with the creepy vibe of the story. And like I said, the story, I liked the concept of the story. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where, it's a somewhat typical serial killer kind of, agent has to find him. But I like the setup here. And I think Snyder did a good job of setting everything up here. And then, of course, you have Sherman's artwork, which is really nice. I think it's worth checking out this week for sure. Next up, we have Wonder Woman number 2, written by Tom King, with artwork by Daniel Sampre. And then there's a prologue for Amazon Attacks, written by Josie Campbell, with artwork by Vasco Gorgiev. So I know some people were kind of a little disappointed in Wonder Woman not having a lot of action in the first issue, but I'll tell you there's action in the second issue. So basically what it is an Amazon has killed this group of bikers or guys in this small town, and so Amazons have been basically kicked out of the US. And of course, Diana's not having any of this, so the general decides to get the army together to go after Diana, Wonder Woman. And of course he sends Steve Trevor in to kind of talk her down off the ledge, and she's like, yeah, it ain't happening. So let's say it does not go well for the general's team. But she's also kind of concerned about what's happening. Why is this, what's going on with, the Amazons? I mean, is she evil? Was she possessed? I mean, we don't know. And that kind of leads into the prologue for the Amazons' attacks. Now, I really liked Campbell's work on the Power of Shazam, the Mary Marvel book. I thought the prologue was kind of okay, and I it wasn't anything that kind of, blew a lot of air up my skirt. It was fine, everything, and Grigoriev, the artwork's nice, but it's kind of tough when you have Tom King and Daniel Sampre just knocking it out of the park. And it's not a knock against Campbell or anything. It's just that it seems like more of a side story than I would say. If you want to read it, yeah, but you don't have to. But going back to the main thing, really the big win for this book, beyond Tom King really developing Wonder Woman, which is great, is Sampre's artwork is just phenomenal. This is a great looking book, and the action scenes are great, but what I love is actually, some of the more smaller scenes, the flashbacks to when she was a child and battling in the Amazon arena. It's really, that's one of my favorite things about the second issue. I love this book. You definitely need to be checking it out. Not because I just love Tom King, but it's really that good. And I'm glad that Wonder Woman is now kind of, people are starting to get back into the book because she's a great character, and King and Sampre are doing a great job. Next up, we have Conan the Barbarian, number 4, written by Jim Zub, with artwork by Rob De La Torre. So this finishes the first story arc of, they've been battling the Tribe of the Lost, and they got to, basically the Blackstone, where what it is this they throw the people into water and it steals their souls. So there's kind of this this Blackstone has been stealing souls and then creating the undead army. And so Conan in the last issue gets kind of thrown in, and he has kind of this, I guess, dream or something about a past warrior who was the first one to, kind of defeat Blackstone. And he kind of tells Conan how to, defeat Blackstone this time. So it finishes up this first storyline. Zub really has done a nice job of capturing the spirit of Conan in comics. And Delatorre's artwork is just gorgeous. It's really a good book. Like I said, I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of like Conan. I like Conan, but Zub and Latour are just knocking out of the park on this book. I really like this book. I also like that they've set a lot of things up with this first storyline to help you get to know Conan and stuff like that. So I think it's off to a really good start, and it'll be interesting to see where the second story arc takes this book, because I really like it. Next up, we have Dracula Number One, written by James Tynion IV, with artwork by Martin Simmons. Now, this is the same team who did Department of Truth, and so basically what they're doing is they're adapting the Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, but it's also, these are licensed from Universal, so they're like, so Skybound's going to be doing Universal Monsters, so this is kind of the first kickoff book. And, it was interesting because recently, just this past week, I watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, I'm totally drawing. Francis Ford Coppola. There we go. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. And actually, Tynion's following, the story quite closely. He's changing. I wouldn't say he's really changing a few things here and there. I mean, there's kind of embellishments here and there, but he's definitely following the story. And Simmons' artwork's really, really nice. It's really creepy. His Renfield is like really messed up visually, and it's really quite fascinating. It's a really pretty book. I think it's also kind of a book because, you really just get so much of a short, chunk of the story here. I really like the book, but it might be worth trade waiting on this one to kind of read it all in one shot. But if you do pick up the individual issues, I think it's worth checking out. I did really like it. And like I said, the artwork's absolutely gorgeous. So in that respect, it's worth picking up if you want to pick it up as single issues. Next up, we have The Flash number 2, written by Cy Spurrier with artwork by Mike Deodato Jr. In the first issue, we had Gorilla Grodd coming to Central City and we didn't quite know what they were doing, and we're still not quite exactly sure, but the group was attacked by this weird alien thing that even the Flash had problems with, but these alien beings who obviously kind of understand the Speed Force and the whole speed thing, help him defeat the creature, or at least send it away. And they also kind of tell Wally how, the Speed Force is also kind of time shifting. So they also, in a way, they teach him how to time shift, where, and later on in the book, he fights Gorilla Grodd and his team again. And he's able to defeat him using like time shifting instead of speed, shifting. And so it's interesting. And we also get a little taste that Barry is maybe important to the book. We see him as a glimpse in the last part, but we don't know what he's going to play in the book. I really like what Spurrier's doing here. And then Deodato Jr.'s artwork, he's doing that panel thing, but I think it's actually working well with the story. I mean, Spurrier knows like how the story is visually being, kind of told that way. And it's really interesting. I mean, it's really a kind of a non-superhero book in a lot of ways, and that's what I'm liking about it, is that it's very outside the box thinking, which is really good. I think especially at DC now, we're seeing a lot of these kind of books that are kind of looking outside, not doing just the standard superhero stuff. And I think I really like it, and definitely still worth checking out. I really like it. It's good story, great artwork. Next up, we have Rare Flavours number 2, written by Ram V, with artwork by Felipe Andre. So what it is so Ruben, who we kind of knew from the last issue, he's basically the devil or a demon, we're not quite sure. And what he does is, he eats people. Now, but he's also into like flavors and food. So what he's hired Mo, this documentary filmmaker, to he's going around the world finding different foods, and the first one, they go to this desert to find this rare pepper. And so what's interesting, what Ram V does within the story, he actually gives you a recipe to use with this pepper, kind of make a like a soup or something. And And it's really interesting because there's that going on, but it's also kind of what is this demon want? What does Reuben want? I mean, obviously, he's eating people, but what I mean, beyond and then why he's hired Mo, obviously to do this documentary, but why has he picked Mo? And that we're not sure, but we're kind of slowly peeling that back of why. And then we have these two guys that are following Reuben to try to stop him because, he's obviously killing people and eating them. And we don't know why, they're following him or what, kind of obviously they know about him and about, what he's been doing. But why it all, we're not sure yet, but I trust Ram V to pull it all together. And then of course, Felipe Andre's artwork. This book is just beautiful. And it's the same team who did Layla Star, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. As always, I highly recommend picking that book up. But Rare Flavours is wonderful. It really is a wonderful book, and I'm really liking where it's going. Next up, we have Predator versus Wolverine, number 2, written by Benjamin Percy. And as with the first issue, we have multiple artists. So we have Ken Lachey doing the present story, Andre DeVito doing the Team X story, and then we have Hayden Sherman doing the Weapon X part of the story. So what this is we find out that the main part of the story really is the Team X thing, where they go to South America to kill a dictator, a general, not a dictator, but it's kind of like dictator. And so when they get there, Team X is like confronted with like this group of like predators not going well, and then they actually team up with the general to try to take out the predators. And so what we're learning is that there's at least one predator that knows who Wolverine is, and he has a grudge, and that's why he's coming back to him in present day. We saw that in the first issue, where the predators have Wolverine has tangled with them over the years, and of course they want his head. So it's once again it's an interesting story. I like how Percy's telling these different time frames that kind of blends them all together and how they all converge and they work with each other. The artwork is all really nice. Lachey, DeVito, and Sherman do a really nice job. It's a really good looking book. It's a lot of fun. It's exactly what you would think with Predator versus Wolverine. You get what you pay for, and you're definitely getting your money's worth out of it, I think. Next up, we have Edenwood, number 1, written and drawn by Tony S. Daniel. So what this is it's kind of think of World War III, except for instead of governments, it's between demons and witches, and humans are basically caught in the middle. And so what it is there's these group of kids, they're out in the woods. They think they're kind of away from the war, but the war kind of comes to them. And then Ryan, one of the guys, is his girlfriend Adalai. They get kind of transported into the war. Now, whether it's the future or not, we're not quite sure. But there's a demon hunter that goes around hunting these demons. And so they all, the two of them kind of get involved with this whole thing. I don't want to say too much more. I don't want to give away the story. But there's a connection between Ryan and this demon hunter. So, like I said, I'll just leave that there. Obviously, Daniels is a really great artist and everything. And I think as a writer, I think it's like there's a lot of good ideas here. It's kind of like a really exposition heavy, which is not necessarily bad, but it's kind of, for me, it was a tad disjointed. Like it's not that it made sense or anything. It's just kind of like there was a lot of spinning plates, and I don't think it connected as well as I would have liked it, but I think there's some really good ideas here, but they're also kind of basic at the same time. So it's really going to be like probably the second or third issue to kind of see where this is really going to land, because there's like I said, there's a ton of exposition in this first issue. So it's really hard to tell in this one, but the art's nice. I think it's interesting. I just wouldn't say I'm sold on it quite yet. Next up, we have Marvel Unleashed number 3. Written by Kyle Starks with artwork by Juan Gideon. So what it is So we have Throg, Redwing, Chewie, Falcon, Bats, D-Day, trying to rescue Lockjaw from Blackheart. So the scientist that created like kind of the transportation portal is with them, and so they're trying to get to Blackheart's castle to rescue Lockjaw. And then Blackheart has sent his goon army, orgs and stuff to battle them, and basically it's kind of a battle between the orgs and the pets, and it does not go well for your orgs. There's a lot of fun stuff. I'm a big fan of Kyle Stark's writing, and I really am enjoying this book quite a bit. It's just, I think the thing is it's fun, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And actually, I think it's a really good thing. We have a new artist this in this issue, surprisingly, Juan Gideon, who did the Justice League Prehistoric book over at DC. He's coming into, I don't know if it's a fill-in or he's going to do the last 2 issues, but he does a nice job on the artwork. And like I said, this book's just a lot of fun, and it's all pretty much an all pet fiesta, so that's a plus. So I think it's well worth checking out still. Next up, we have Giant Robot Hellboy number 1, written by Mike Mignola with Duncan Fegredo. So basically what this is think of Pacific Rim. They've kidnapped Hellboy, strapped him to a chair. Now there's a giant robot Hellboy, and he's basically on this monster island fighting monsters. But we don't know why they kidnapped him or why they've created this Hellboy. We just know that he's now like a giant robot Hellboy, and that there's something going on in this island that like they're trying to figure out with the monsters and stuff. That's basic premise, and it was damn fun. Ferrego's artwork is really, really nice, as obviously he's done a lot of stuff in the Mignolaverse. And I think in a lot of ways, if you're a fan of Pacific Rim or Godzilla and stuff like that, you're going to totally dig this book. I mean, Mignola is definitely writing this for just that sort of audience. I mean, it's just like, it's giant robots and monsters. What more can you ask for? And then you throw in Hellboy. It's like, yep, take my money. That's exactly what this is. So, well, we're checking out this week. Next up, we have The Penguin, number 3, written by Tom King, with artwork by Rafael de la Torre. So, now that the Penguin has been pushed to go back to Gotham, by the feds, basically he tells them, hey, you want me back there? I've got to get a goon squad together. So basically what it is he gets this team. I wouldn't say that they're a villain team. They're the Force of July, and that dates back to Batman the Outsiders way back in the 80s. That was created by Jim Aparo and Mike W. Barr. That was quite a surprise, and we obviously know with Tom King doing Danger Street that he has a big affinity for some of these older characters and stuff. So that's what this issue is really about. Penguin kind of getting this gang, and like I said, they're more of a liberty kind of right wing. Like I said, they're not really villains, but it'll be interesting to see because apparently what it was is the government took away their powers. But the question is Penguin is he able to give them back their powers, or why has he put this team together? I think that's really the fascinating question from this issue. Once again, King's just knocking out of the park, doing a very different Penguin story, which I really like. And De La Torre the artwork's really, really nice. Still worthwhile checking out. I like the way that this book is going. It's not just, kind of a villain, basic villain story. It's definitely got some interesting twist in it. Next up, we have Slow Burn number 1, written by Ollie Masters, with artwork by Pier Luigi Minitoni. So what this is, so we have Roxy and Luke have stolen this bag, and while it was going on, Luke was shot. So they go to this town, and this town's kind of abandoned and messed up, but she finds a house where somebody's living there. She breaks into the house. The girl who lives there tries to kill her with a golf club. She ends up, tying her up and everything. And we find out that there's this coal burning under the town. It's like, think of like a tire fire that just never goes out. It's under this town. So that's why everybody's abandoned it. because, there's sinkholes that have been created because of this. And then we find out that, Roxy thought that they maybe stole some money and she can like buy her way out of this. Well, she sort of stole some money, but it's not money in cash. They stole a Stradivarius violin, which are, like super rare and worth millions of dollars. So she is going to try to hawk this thing while she's trapped in this town. So there's kind of a lot going on. Luke's been shot and he looks like he's dying at the end of the issue. I'm not quite sure. I think there's some interesting ideas. I wouldn't say that I was totally sold on this book, but I think there's some interesting concepts. Obviously this first issue has a lot of exposition. So that kind of, once again, you kind of get the slow burn, somewhat pun intended there. But I think it's got some interesting ideas, and it'll be interesting to kind of see where it goes. Monotoni's artwork, the artwork's actually nice, and Master's story is good. I just think, it's going to be, let's see what that second issue does. But I think there's enough here to definitely check it out this week for if you're kind of into like that, those type of stories. Next up, we have Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 7, written by Dennis Culver with artwork by Chris Burnham. So General Mortis has basically revived Uragor, which was kind of like the Candle villain from the old Grant Morrison run on Doom Patrol. And so basically they've been joined together so he can, Aragon can take over the world. And basically the Doom Patrol has to stop him. It's the big finale. Lots of battling in here. Lots of magic. Lots of crazy stuff going on. It was really a nice finish. The good thing is it does say that the Doom Patrol will return. There is a prologue, or an epilogue, which I will not say, that definitely means that there definitely is hopefully more Doom Patrol coming. Hopefully it's the same team, because Culver and Burnham are they fired on all cylinders on this. I'm a huge Doom Patrol fan, so if you could impress me with doing a Doom Patrol book, then you've done your job well, and I think they've done the job very well. So if you've missed this book, I know the trade's coming out probably in a few months. Definitely pick that up. I really enjoyed this book, not only for its story, but Burnham's artwork is always just amazing. So well worth checking out. Next up, we had The Black Hammer, The End, number 3, written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Malachi Ward. So we have there's one Black Hammer left, and Lucy is trying, her and her mom have been sent to the farm. Lucy's not happy about it, so we have that story going on. And then we also have that Skulldigger and they have been taking people from the worlds that's been destroyed to put this team together to stop the anti-god. So in a lot of ways, I always say, like I said, I think a couple reviews ago, think of like Crisis on Infinite Earths with Black Hammer. That's exactly what this story is. And there's a lot of moving parts, and there's, you definitely, if you've not read Black Hammer, you're going to be totally lost with this book. But if you're like me and a huge Black Hammer fan, this is like everything, because it's basically Crisis on Infinite Earths in the Black Hammer universe. So everybody's involved. And so for me, it's a real treat. But I'm really enjoying what Lemire's doing with this kind of final story. He's already said that they're probably down the road there will be more stories, but maybe different stories in the universe. And Ward's artwork's nice. I like how the style varies depending on some of the stories, and that's actually really, really nice. But like I said, not for people who've not read. If you haven't been reading Black Hammer, you're gonna be totally lost on this. So definitely be careful of that. Next up, we have Disney Villains Hades number 3, written by Elliot Kalan with artwork by Alessandro Randolli. So basically, Hades has gotten his heist team together. And so he's trying to get the Golden Fleece. And so he decided to go to the island in the back way, which has not turned out well, because the island going the back way is the worst way to go. They thought they'd be sneaky. It's not worked out well. So they are able to get into the island barely. And so you also have Jason of Ilog, and he's like, well, I'm gonna go get the fleece just because, I'm like a hero. And so you have that going on. So there's kind of like two battles going on. And then all I got to say is they run into Medusa and it kind of does not go well. I'm really enjoying this book. I'm a really big fan of Hercules, and I like that Callan is doing something that feels very much like Hades and everything, but very different at the same time. And it doesn't have Hercules in it at all. It just has a lot of the side characters and stuff. And I'm really, really enjoying this. And Rinaldi's artwork is really, really nice. Captures a nice cartoony style and everything. I'm really loving this book, for sure. And if you're a fan of Hercules, which you should be, definitely check this book out. Next up, we have the Lonesome Hunter. Lonesome Hunter's The Wolf Child, number 4, written and drawn by Tyler Crook. So this finishes the second story arc so what it is Howard and Lupe have been on the road. They're trying to get the the almighty sword, to kind of give it away, because Howard is like, knows that it's not necessarily evil, but it kind of like, has, slowed his aging, but also it's like it's caused trouble along the way. So that's why they're trying to get it. And I really don't want to say too much about kind of what happens in the story. Let's just say that the sword heals the mother wolf, and it does not go well for the guys that are hunting it. I will put it that way. But I really am enjoying this book. Like I said at the beginning with the first issue, this is the second story arc. They're doing, he's doing like miniseries in chunks. So you really need to have read like the first one to kind of really understand what's going on in the second one. But the good news is that there'll be a trade of this collection of 4 issues, so you can definitely pick them up. But I'm a big fan of Tyler Crook, and I'm really liking what he's doing with this story. And since he's writing, drawing, and doing everything on it, I understand like he's kind of doing these like mini series, for the story arc. So it makes sense, but it's a really good read, and the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. Next up, we have Tales of the Titan, number 4, Beast Boy, written by Andrew Constant, with artwork by Brandt and Stein. So really, this is a story post Dark Crisis, where Deathstroke tried to kill Beast Boy. And so he's kind of having nightmares about it. And so what it is him and Raven are in this house, kind of in the woods and everything. So he's trying to, he can turn into animals, but he's having problems keeping shapes of bigger animals. So he's trying to relearn, but he's kind of got this mental block. And so while he's out there, he kind of, this wolf man basically captures him and is going to do experiments of like mixing his blood, mixing Beast Boy's blood with his blood to kind of cure him. And so that's kind of that side story. But really the main part of the story is about Beast Boy trying to regain himself and trying to cast away the nightmares of getting almost killed by Deathstroke. So that's really a lot of what the story is about. At first, I wasn't really overwhelmed, and I think the in a lot of ways the werewolf story is kind of a bit of a side story, but it needs something to tell the nightmare part of the story. So in the end, I actually did like it. Like I said, I was a little iffy on it first, but Constant really, brings the story together. And Brandon Stein's artwork's nice. It's pretty basic, but I think it fits the story pretty well. And I'm a big Titans fan, and you can't go wrong with Beast Boy. I think most of these have been, pretty decent. I wouldn't say that none of them have overwhelmed me, but I think they're nice stories. And finally, this week, we have Firepower number 28, written by Robert Kirkman with Chris Samnee. And I really want to say that this story was exceptionally emotional. And I'm really I want to be tiptoeing around. So basically what it is Doug, Owen's son, the dragon has attacked Chicago. And so they now the family all has firepower, also with some of the warriors, and so they're going to go battle the dragon. So what the story is, it's told in basically single panels where Doug is writing to his grandfather. to tell him what they've been doing. And that's all I've got to. That's all I really want to say, because it's an exceptionally emotional story with the way Doug is writing the letters, and what's going on with the bigger story arc of this book. And it just really, I actually got a little choked up at the end of this issue, and now we have 2 more issues before the end of the series. The series is finishing with issue 30. This really sets a stage for a big change within the family. I have been a fan of this book from day one. This issue is absolutely amazing. I think it's one of the best issues, but it's not an issue you can just really stand alone. You have to have read this book from the beginning to get to this point where it really hits you. It really hits you in your heart. And it is absolutely wonderful. I think it's one of Kirkman's best. And I think a lot of that has to do with Chris Samnee, not only his art, but he's definitely kicking into the story for sure, because he's a great storyteller also. This was really just a fantastic issue, and it's a book that I have been recommending pretty much from day one, and it's amazing. I can't wait to see what they do with these last 2 issues, because I'm kind of a wreck after this one. So that's going to do it this week. I tried to get through them as quickly as possible because we had a ton of books this week. So as always, public service announcement, I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. He's the owner. He's really great. A great store. There's Wendy, Annie, Derek runs their social media. Check out their Facebook page. They also have a Facebook group where we post a lot of stuff about comics and all sorts of other things. A lot of fun over there. If you're in the Long Beach area, definitely stop by and see the store. It's really a great store. Like I said, Ryan's a great guy, and he'll take care of you. That's the big thing. You want a store that you can go into, feel welcome and friendly and helpful, and he does a great job there, and everybody else does. Annie, Wendy, everybody. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other, be kind to yourself. I know things are tough out there. Trust me, I get it. There's a lot going on in my life. I know there's a lot going on in your life, but try to stay positive. But really the one thing I always say is be kind. Not only be kind to yourself, which is very important, but be kind to others. Doesn't take a lot of, opening the door, saying hello, thank you, you're welcome. It's that simple, folks. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, and it's good for you, and it's good for other people. So be kind to yourself and be kind to others. It's really important. And take care of yourselves. Like I said, next week's video will be post-Halloween, so everybody have a safe and wonderful Halloween. It's my favorite time of the year. It's better than Christmas. It's better than everything else. Halloween's the best. Watch some scary movies. These are some great scary movies. Some not so scary. Some are very kid-friendly, like Mad Monster Party. Very kid-friendly. Even the Addams Family. I wouldn't say it's scary, but it's good family-friendly. Gremlins is, a little, not too young. But Halloween, it's always my thing. I usually watch Halloween on Halloween. It's kind of my jam. So be safe on Halloween. Take care of yourselves. Hopefully you get a lot of candy. And that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please share our videos. It's great. Spread the word. Comments are welcome. As always, thanks. And thanks for watching. I definitely appreciate everybody that watches the show. So if you have any comments, let me know. We'll be back again next week. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Take care of yourselves. Be kind. We'll see you again next week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.